Welcome to the Education Corner, a podcast by Education Choices magazine.
Education Corner podcast would like to welcome Mr. Leo Winkley, Headmaster of Shrewsbury School in Shropshire. Shrewsbury School is a co-educational day and boarding school for pupils aged 13 to 18. The school aims to provide students with an education for life through classroom learning, a rich co-curricular offering, and a strong school community. Shrewsbury students benefit immensely from this supporting and challenging environment and achieve highly across the board, getting excellent exam results and destinations beyond school. Leo joined Shrewsbury School as headmaster in 2018 and has previously held roles at St Peter's School, York, Bedale School, Cheltenham Ladies College, and Ardingly College. It's such a pleasure to have you with us.
It's a pleasure to be in Education Corner with you, Chloe. Nice to be talking.
Firstly, could you tell us a bit about your background and how you came to your role at Shrewsbury School?
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up as a teaching child, if you like, in a boarding school in Surrey, Cranley, where my dad was a housemaster, and I suppose was exposed to the joys of boarding education at a very early age. I then became a boarder there, and then went on to university, study theology at Oxford. Went to live in France for a couple of years, trying to resist the magnet that was probably inevitably pulling me towards being a teacher. It won. I came back to England and was head of religious studies at Ardingly College for 5 years, and then for 5 years at Cheltenham Ladies College as head of RS there. And then I was lucky enough to move to Bedale School as deputy head. And then after 6 years there, I became headmaster of St Peter's, York. And then after 8 years there, I moved to Shrewsbury, and I'm now in my 8th year at Shrewsbury School. So that's my journey.
Very exciting and active one at that. We work very closely with Cranley. Your school motto is Inter si recte ni labora. If all is right within, trouble not. Could you tell us more about what this means to you and how it's embedded in the school life?
I'd love to. The school was founded in 1552, and that Latin motto is curiously visionary, actually, because what it really tells you is the story of character, whole person education. What it's saying is that if the interior values that you have are right, and you know who you are, and you know what you believe in, then you don't need to worry too much about what's going on around you. Because you'll probably make the right decisions, seize the right opportunities, interact nicely with other people, and lead a happy and purposeful life. So I think it's a rather amazing motto because it captures that sense of whole person development that we do in boarding schools. All great schools should be developing the whole person, but as a 7-day boarding school at Shrewsbury, we're doing that all of the time in all the many dimensions that you can operate. Our unofficial motto is serious fun. And we haven't translated that into Latin, but it captures the spirit of doing things with high purpose, with a sense of wanting to enjoy the journey of childhood and the teenage years, and to apply yourself with real conviction to everything you do. So you can be serious even in your fun when it's socializing and doing all of the many things in the co-curriculum, house life. That's fun, but you do it with real intention. Similarly, if you're preparing for your academic exams and doing all of your learning, you should be enjoying that as well. So it's serious, but it's also fun. So we kind of have an official motto and an unofficial motto.
Well, I like both. The school's website describes the school's partnership and community engagement program, which was recognised as a significant strength by the ISI. And you state, we believe that it is important for the school to play its part in striving for a fairer society and to improve the life chances of children beyond the immediate community of Shrewsbury School. Could you tell us more about these partnerships and how this benefits your students and your wider community?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we were really pleased that the Independent Schools Inspectorate recognised the nature of volunteering and partnership and community engagement work and how well it is embedded in the school here. And they remarked that pupils are kind and appreciate the value of service and looking after others, which I think is incredibly important in terms of our own pupils, that they grow through interacting with children from lots of different backgrounds. They learn all kinds of ways of appreciating different lives that are lived and helping to add value to the experience of children in primary schools and maintain schools across the region and indeed across the country. And we also do a lot in connecting staff to work together. There are brilliant colleagues across the education sector. We're all part of this big national education system. I don't believe in walls. I believe in bridges. And despite the current narratives, perhaps in the UK, we really believe that independent schools are part of the fabric of things. It's a very pluralistic environment, and we want to be contributing. We have a 120-year-old relationship with Shrewsbury House, or the Shrewsbury, as it's called, up in Everton in Liverpool. And that's a youth and community club. All our third form, year nine pupils visit there. We do lower six residentials there as well. They come from that very different community. It's a really challenging environment up there to spend time at school here, and we're extending opportunity there and really giving opportunities in that context. We've got literally hundreds of different partnership activities. We love working with the Alpha Academies Trust in Stoke. We're part of their universal offer there. Our pupils mentor and contribute to the learning experiences themed around our famous alumnus, Charles Darwin, Darwin Discovery Days. We work with Imperial College in London with STEM subjects, Saturday schools, and we have a wonderful program called Symphonic Sunday, which is providing opportunities for young music makers in the region to come in, work with our music staff and our pupils. And at the end of a year of Sunday gatherings, they then produce a symphonic concert together. And there are hundreds of other ways that we're interacting through our arts program, our sports program. This isn't superficial stuff of sort of sharing facilities, which is fine and great. You know, we love the fact that over 1,000 children learn to swim in our pool, but actually it's about meaningful and continuous engagement over a period of months and years rather than one-hit wonder encounters, though they can be nice. So it's a really embedded program. It benefits our pupils. It benefits the children we interact with. The virtual schools of Shropshire, these are children in care. They have their celebration events here. We do a varsity games where you have a kind of mini Olympics. I mean, I could keep going. You can probably tell our passion for this.
Yeah.
But I'd want to underline that sense that these are mutually beneficial. They impact the children from all kinds of different places, and they help grow our children as well into people with a deep sense of social responsibility. And that's part of our core aim at Shrewsbury. We want our children to thrive, discover who they want to be in life, and to contribute positively to the world around them.
And it's so important that that schools are not exclusive; they're fully inclusive.
Totally.
You also take great pride in your co-curricular offering, which includes over 100 sports teams, many musical and theatrical ensemble and performances, 20 additional activities and societies. Um, what is the role of this rich co-curriculum at the school? And it must have such a huge impact on your students.
It really does. And I mean, if you go all the way back through the mist of time, you know, the great British boarding schools invented the idea of the co-curriculum that, you know, physical exercise, being active is good for you and is part of learning. And that's certainly the case at Shrewsbury. We have a huge co-curricular offering, and there's something for everybody. That's the point. I think it's participation is really important. Being active, expressing yourself, being creative, and there's different ways of exploring that. And some will love throwing themselves into team sports. That's brilliant. We're delighted that, you know, we do well at top levels there. You know, our boys football team were national champions in the England Schools FA Cup a couple of years ago. That competition involves state and independent schools. We've won the National Cricket Championships for both boys and girls. Two golds at the National Schools Regatta in 2024. Cross country running was born in Shrewsbury at Shrewsbury School. Official, according to World Athletics, they gave us a blue plaque. It was the first ever cross-country running club in the world. All of these things are great to pursue. I could mention many others, and we love experiencing success and being part of something bigger. Equally, some individuals will do more individual sports or not really be into charging around on pitches. They might want to do yoga or Pilates or gym, those kinds of things. Dance, we do a lot of that. And it's also really important to say it's about participation. It's about being involved, and there should be something for everyone. We have a thriving beekeeping society here, Eco Committee, Model United Nations. We do about 150 debates a year, and the only thing we compel here is choice. They must choose a stack of different things that they do. And the societies program, again, it extends the academic curriculum to be talking about history, for example, or medical society, these sort of more expansive parts of I suppose, the academic super curriculum, which interacts with the co-curriculum. And again, the great thing about a full boarding school is you have 7 days a week to be able to mix all these things together. The brain is constantly flicking into different modes, interacting through the academic, the co-curricular, the social, house life, all of those things. So the co-curriculum is, it's reinforcing and creating good energy that then carries over into academic life and vice versa. And it's serious fun.
And also life skills. I think, kind of there can be so much focus on academics, but beekeeping is something that someone might go on to do in later life. Who knows?
I
Um,
totally agree. And you talk about life skills. I mean, the context of doing these things, you're learning really important lessons about how to interact with others, how to deal with failure, disappointment. You're not going to have unbeaten seasons all the time. You're not going to have productions that work perfectly. There are going to be moments and kind of needle scratch moments where you have to kind of recover. So experiencing disappointment is really important, building resilience, all of those softer skills that you grow through being part of society, all these different activities that children do. So you're absolutely right. Those skills are a huge part of whole person education and preparing youngsters for life.
AI and technology is increasingly significant factor in education and young people's lives. Um, what is your approach to AI at Shrewsbury, and how do you balance incorporating new technologies whilst also protecting your young people?
Really important. It's a contemporary issue, isn't it? That we're all very engaged with, and AI isn't just here; it's kind of there. It's ahead of us, and we're needing to work out how we manage what we would call a balance between being pro-tech and pro-human. And obviously, as a 7 day boarding environment, we have our children with us all of the time, and we need to weave in digital learning and managing the online world with being an eyes up community where we're engaging with each other as humans. There's huge potential. I'm very excited actually by AI and what it can do to accelerate learning and remove some of the mundane processes, both for pupils and indeed staff. Equally, there's no substitute for deep and real learning, and we don't want essays that have been spat out by Copilot, and we can spot them pretty well. We need to be developing metacognition, deep learning skills, and learning should, in a good way, be a struggle. If you take the analogy of how an athlete trains to be excellent, they don't do it by outsourcing the struggle of training. So you have to do that, and without wishing to boost any particular product available. AI should be a co-pilot, but there's a pilot flying the plane, as it were, and that pilot needs to be needs to understand what it's doing. So the young human needs to use AI with discretion, And teachers should be threading it into learning in order to do that. We have here a traffic light system where we set academic tasks as either green, you may use AI in the following ways. Amber, you can use AI in limited ways as follows, or red, where we're deliberately saying this is a no AI task. And obviously, teachers need to be vigilant and deliberate about how they manage those tasks. All of the pastoral and safeguarding issues related to this, obviously, we're all thinking through those, and making sure that we can distinguish between truth and artificiality and fake news, deep fakes, all these kinds of issues are really important. And not everybody has the answers. That we're learning as we go here, but we have to engage with it. And anybody as an educationalist or parent who simply tries to sort of shut the door and hope it goes away isn't doing a good job educationally. So we have to be engaging with it. I do think it's exciting, slightly terrifying at times, but also it's a challenge we should be embracing to the good.
Boarding is also an important part of school life. And as you've explained, you come from a boarding background yourself. And you have 12 boarding houses where boarding and day pupils are together. Could you share more about your boarding community, and how students and families benefit from the boarding experience?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we have integrated into our boarding community. About 20% of the school is day, and they can do long days with us if they'd like to. They're welcome to be with us until 9ish at night. Many of them will do that. Indeed, come in on Sundays for house activities and that sort of thing. So we run 7 days a week. We're a member of what the Boarding Schools Association calls the 500 Club. So those schools that have more than 500 boarders in on a Saturday night. There are not many in that club. We have about 620 boarders with us every Saturday night. That means it's full. And this goes back to all of the brilliant things that you can do if you have time. We're not investing time in commuting or we have everything on one site, a 110-acre site. So every moment can be learning and enjoying the serious fun of whole person education, which I think is really important. It's also, I think, important to underscore the sense of contemporary boarding. We like interacting with parents. They're not shut away. We're not sending children away to boarding school. We have parents with us all the time. We're very connected virtually as well, through our houses, and we're an inclusive community. We're also part of the local landscape as well. So particularly in Shrewsbury, we're 5 minutes walk over the bridge into a lovely medieval town where the school is held in affection. Children enjoy interacting with the local community. So, boarding schools, contemporary boarding schools are happy, gentle, kind, lively places. And that's a great thing. I'm passionate about modern contemporary boarding. I was lucky enough to be chair of the Boarding Schools Association in 2017, and it's clear that there are so many professionals who choose to live with other people's children, in the boarding context because they love being with young people in a whole person environment, and that's all good news. And I think the boarding school community is also a driver of social mobility. We're engaged in lots of transformative bursaries with Springboard, with a number of other partners, our connection with the Shewsbury in Liverpool, Academies Trust in Stoke, where children come in for sixth form bursaries, fully funded, and experience the transformative power of boarding. So you can sense we're deeply committed to what boarding done well can do.
And do you work with the Sutton Trust as well?
Yeah,
Or
funnily enough, I was
yeah,
in
yeah,
touch
because we
with
work with them.
Sir Peter the other day. Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
we believe in transformation, and that
yeah,
goes all the way through the DNA of Shrewsbury School and great schools. We're engines of progress and excellence, and we need our communities to be diverse. We love a mix.
yeah,
We have a lot of our borders will come from within an hour or so, regional borders, many from across the whole country, north of the border in Scotland, East Anglia, in the southeast, and roughly 25% from 33 currently different nations. So dare I say it, Shropshire is not the most ethnically diverse of counties, and actually we really bring the world to Shropshire. Not wishing to overplay it, but we that kind
Yeah.
of sense of being surrounded by somebody who's got an SY3 postcode, somebody who lives in Dubai or Hong Kong or Ghana or wherever else, Thailand, somebody lives in Scotland, somebody lives in London. Those mixes in houses, that's kind of exciting real world preparation, and then folk who've come from really different backgrounds add to the mix for everyone.
And parents increasingly, when they come through our consultancy, are looking for community within a school that is diverse, and is going to reflect the world that the children are going to go out into. And I think it's really important now.
I agree. And if you're preparing for life, and we talk about Shrewsbury for life, and that's a deliberate double meaning. One, we believe that, that we want our youngsters to go out into the world as citizens of the world, global citizens, and also that it's a relationship for life. You're joining, in our case, a community of nearly 9,000 living old Salopians all around the world. There are about 300 in the United States. There's a whole bunch in all different corners of the world. We love to connect with them, and that sense of being part of a lifelong community, as well as the co-travelers that with whom you've formed all these bonds. You're going out into an incredibly diverse world, and you have to be skilled in appreciating different cultures, being able to align and understand how other people think. And boarding, one of the other things it develops brilliantly is this delicate equipoise between being able to assert yourself, which is important, but also to compromise, to understand how others are feeling, how it looks from a different perspective. And that delicate balance, boarders tend to be really good at both being, here's me, this is what I believe, but also, yeah, I'm willing to yield here. I'm willing to kind of maneuver around and understand why actually there might be another perspective on that.
You recently welcomed Pressfeld into the Shrewsbury family of schools, which also includes Paranova, Packwood, and your international schools in India, Cambodia, Hong Kong, and Thailand. How does being a part of this family of schools benefit your staff and pupils?
It does in lots of ways. So that yeah, there are 9 members of the Shrewsbury School family, 3 UK prep schools, as you say, and 5 international schools, which ultimately accounts for 4,500 children being educated under the Shrewsbury School banner, and 1,500 of those are in the UK. So it's a big community to be part of, and although, for example, Shrewsbury International School Bangkok was founded in 2003, so very well established. We're still it's discovering new ways of connecting, and there's cultural exchange that can happen. I mean, recently we had a football tour over from Bangkok. They were playing sport, football and others, with pupils from our schools here. Staff interacting with one another. We do a lot, for example, around careers and music. We had a music tour to Hong Kong, and they performed at the Shrewsbury International School Hong Kong there, and lots of mixing. So that there's numerous points of interaction. And then from a sort of family point of view, I mean, it's all good for Shrewsbury PLC, as it were. That we are. There's a kind of presence, and I also will gently remark this to say our local community here. We're carrying the name of Shrewsbury to new parts of the world, so there's all kinds of knock-on benefits to this part of the country, hopefully by doing excellence. But the most important thing is our pupils experience additional opportunities, and they feel connected. So, and there's all kinds of interesting things we run. For example, our leavers can go and do a gap year at Shrewsbury International School in Bangkok, India.
I
They
was
can
going to
be,
ask, yeah.
yeah, assistants there for a year, and they come back saying reassuringly, "Wow, it's like Shrewsbury." Totally recognise it. They're also bringing some of the Shrewsbury DNA, if you like. We run our own summer school here for a couple of weeks in the summer. A lot of the pupils from Shrewsbury International Schools will come and be part of that. So we feel part of something bigger. The principals in those international schools do all their recruiting from Shrewsbury, UK. So they're regular touch points for school leaders. We're part of a sort of leadership narrative there that we share together, sharing ideas. And different parts of the world are ahead on different things. So whenever you interact with somebody from a different part of the world, you learn.
And do the prep schools also feed into Shrewsbury kind
Yeah,
of?
absolutely. I mean, we're committed to 13 plus education, and we love the idea that children in prep schools will, going up to the age of 13, that's a really important phase of growth where you get to be sort of the big one in a smaller world, if you like, and then moving at 13 to great senior schools. Other great senior schools are available, of course, but we love them coming particularly from our family of schools. But actually, our year nine intake will come from children across the country and around the world. And that mix is really important. So, it's all part of ensuring that the excellence of the independent education system continues to thrive. That's why senior schools are linking with prep schools for those kinds of reasons.
At Shrewsbury School, you take pride in providing an education for life. I think that's come through in everything you said, really. And many families are increasingly interested in how schools are preparing students for life beyond education and exam success. What does your ethos of whole person education involve? And I think it's very important for parents to understand. And how do you prepare your students for life beyond Shrewsbury?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's everything all the time. It is part of that project, isn't it? And obviously, you can zero in on our futures faculty, as we call it. So, three members of staff whose job it is to design and deliver really good careers and futures education. And we deliberately use the word futures because there's a real diversity, actually, increasingly of I guess, a starburst of different ways you can go in life. And lots of them will go to great universities. I think 82% of our pupils went to world top 200 universities last year. Two-thirds to Russell Group, that's great. But four into degree apprenticeships, with leading accountancy firms, other things into the military, professional sport. Two pupils last year going on to be professional cricketers. There's so many different ways of going out from a school. You want them to have some kind of core values. We actually deliberately use the word virtues because virtues are values put into action, and we like the idea that you actually live and do kindness, wisdom, courage, those kinds of things that we say are part of what we call the Salopian way. So you're growing humans, as it were, as we are as parents. And almost every parent I ever talk about doesn't have an absolutely fixed idea that their child must be this or that. They want to be happy, purposeful, good people, and
Resilient.
we resilient with us. The reality of I may need to adapt, pivot, change direction over my career, and having that flexibility of mindset is really important. And again, I think great schools will enculturate that on a day-to-day basis and reinforce it. And futures preparation should be serious fun. Again, we don't want our teenagers to be feeling I must be writing my CV at the age of 13. But a gentle socialization towards the idea that these things are a campaign rather than a single battle, if you like, and you're gently shaping. Go to this, explore that. Oh, that wasn't for you. Never mind. Bringing in interesting people, from all kinds of different walks of life, and little spark moments will happen with individual children where you say, I think that might be me. I want to be an art therapist, or I want to be, a lawyer, or I want to be a doctor, whatever. Those things will happen because of collisions and moments of connection where they feel that's me, that's where I want to go.
Your students, as you've just said, do very well, have great success in exams and achieve excellent university offers beyond Shrewsbury, including many going on to Russell Group universities, Oxbridge, and I'm imagining you have quite a large American university offering. How do you prepare your pupils and support them throughout the university admissions process, which is obviously very active as we
Yeah,
speak?
it is very, very active, and to that sort of sense of pluralism of destinations, the mind continues to open further and further about what great destinations are. We had two of our pupils get to go to Harvard, both heads of school, which is pretty remarkable double, I have to say. Probably a while until we repeat that, but great options open in North America, Canada. A couple of pupils going to Australia, European universities. Having it's about having a really broad menu for people to consider, an a la carte kind of approach, if you like. And it's the guide by the side, isn't it? It's okay. You're interested in physics. Obviously, the physics faculty are going to be helping you with that, and the futures team. Staying up to date with the different expectations of different institutions and admissions tutors. The US is very bespoke, very targeted, as we know, and we work with excellent experts in the field who help to guide us. SAT preparation, preparation for Medica applications, and I always think what pupils have to do is they have to demonstrate a proactive campaign that they have the sort of, as it were, either led or kind of been encouraged to lead themselves that has brought them to this point. Because you've got to be distinctive in your application, particularly for these competitive destinations. And I think there's a real increasing pluralism as the generations click through, that what we assumed from when we went on from school has completely changed. And there are great courses in so many different institutions. If you want to build boats, you should go to Plymouth. If you want to do international studies, you might want to be in Aberystwyth. Whatever, it's not just the university, it's the course and the quality. There's just a lot more data out there, actually. And what we want to avoid, I suppose, from schools is a herd effect. We all go to this, that, and the other. Has to be said, they often like to stick together a bit, but they need to make their own decisions about what's the right place for me, not where's Billy going. Oh well, I'll go where she's going. There's got to be self-determination.
And finally, what are your hopes and plans looking forward? So you've obviously been there a few years, for Shrewsbury School.
Well, yeah, we as heads we're custodians, and I think I'm the 28th headmaster of Shrewsbury School. So, we're here for a bit, and our job is to leave the place even better than when we found it, and hopefully we keep trying to do that. We're coming up to our 475th anniversary in 2027. So, the future is, I think it is bright. Let's be honest, it's a pretty challenging environment for independent schools. My hope for the future is that our institution thrives. We talk about Floreat Salopia is our little sort of historic phrase there. Flourish, may we all thrive. And yeah, I hope this place continues to flourish. And I hope also that ongoingly we are understood better, independent schools, as being part of the fabric of the best education in the world. From any other perspective, British education, independent school education, and dare I say it, boarding education is the gold standard. And I'd love for in the future our national education system to be much more inclusive. There's so much good work going on across independent and state schools, and there's no such thing as a state school anymore. There's multi-academy trusts. There's loads of different kind of ways of operating education. So my hope is that we are even more well woven into the national fabric, that we continue to do a great job as whole person educators, and that our predecessors will be proud of the way Shrewsbury has retained its sense of heritage values, a traditional identity, but always been springy and contemporary. It's not an accident that Private Eye, the satirical magazine, was invented here by Salopians, all in one house as it happens. Paul Fuss and Willie Rushton, Richard Ingrams, Sir Michael Palin came from here. These are people who had the ability to be contemporary, be friendly, be inventive, move with the times, but also have a sense of what it is to be a human. And those values go all the way back in the history into the mists of time. Good humans should be coming from Shrewsbury to do good things in the world and lead the future.
Thank you so much for giving up your time. I can't imagine how busy you are. And I'd love to come and see Shrewsbury soon.
Please do. We'd love to have you in our education corner in Shropshire.
I'd love that. Okay, thank you.
Really good to talk.